Welcome to my little Avatar 3.0 tutorial. In this tutorial I will show you how you can easily remove the default AFK transformation and how you can use the Poiyomi Dissolve Shader to disappear while you are AFK. I will demonstrate it you now. So I remove my headset from my head, and you will see that I'm slightly disappearing. How fast you will disappear you can choose in your animation, and I'm back now because I have the headset again on. The same happens if you open the Steam overlay. Here another example, if you are only for 1 or 2 seconds AFK, I managed to that the transition is quite fine. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Hopefully my English is good enough and it's understandable because I'm not a native speaker, so be patient with me and have fun. So welcome to this little tutorial. The requirements for this tutorial that you already created a new Unity project, imported the SDK 3.0 for avatars, dynamic bones, the scenes of the old project. So how do you export your old model from the old project into your new project? Just click the scene here and say export package. It will automatically recognize all dependencies of your avatar, but very important if you export it, just unselect all the VRC SDK. Don't import the old VRC SDK. And things like gesture manager or everything you don't need, just don't export it. So let's get started. I will unhide at first my avatar here. The first thing we do is we just add an avatar descriptor. We can fill this out first, so I will drag this little viewpoint. That's my position, how I every time put the viewpoint. We select Visine blend shapes, drag our body into here. It auto detects this perfectly. Then we go to the armature here, spine, chest, neck, head. So there we have the eyes. Just put them fast here. And this one. So looking right, looking left, looking up is more easier. I think that's a good value. Minus 12. Looking left is... Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, that's looking left. Minus. Okay, 12 is a good value, I think. So we set up this. So here we have blend shapes. So we already we just select our body here again. So here we need a blink animation, this one, and we delete these both. We don't need to select them. We clicked on playable layers and we click on expressions. There are the first two scripts that we now create. So we create them here. Right click, create, VRChat, avatars as expression menu. Just short it up. What? So you can see that which script is which one. Parameters. EXP. So let's look how we must name them. Okay, here we have another script. Just copy it. Oh wait, where's my other inspector? Ah, never mind, I unlocked them. There was a little... so these are the right spellings, I think. Yeah, should be. And AFK. So we need these for export parameters. Gesture right, gesture left, AFK. Let's go back to our avatar, scroll down again, put the menu in here, and the parameters in here. So, before we start setting up the action and FX layer, we start setting up our shaders. I'm using the Poiyomi shader. It's a free version I'm using. So I use Poiyomi 2 in advanced cutout. So what I'm doing now is I link all cull options from every material and put the cull option to cull off. The reason why I'm doing this is because we want to see the Dissolve shader from both sides, from the front and from the back. So link all your materials or go to every material and set the cull option to off. Now you need to link another part of the shader. In special effects you need to link with every other material the Dissolve shader. So do it now, click on the link icon on the right side, so it's appearing blue, and link every material you need. So now we're setting up the Dissolve shader after we linked all materials, and Dissolve type is point to point. I will come back later to it. Edge hardness is how hard the edge is from the dissolving. Edge color is self-explaining. The other parts I don't get into it because I don't need them. I will link the Poiyomi Dissolve shader tutorial in the description if you want to get a little bit more into the shader. On the bottom we have another field that's called point to point. We're using local. The edge length is how big the edge is that's dissolving your character. And the start point and the end point is a very important thing. So if you want to go from top to bottom, choose 1 and -1. But how it depends how tall is your avatar. So play with its values. If you are at Dissolve Alpha 0, play with the start point, and if you are at the Dissolve Alpha value 1, play with the end point. So you know how tall you must set your values. So now we linked all materials. We can prove this later in the animation tab. So what we're doing now, before we start creating animations, we need then to create an override controller and an animation controller. So we create an animation controller and call it FX layer. So before we now start animating the animations, we put this FX layer in the one-time controller. Before we upload the avatar, be sure to delete it again out of here. So go to your base layer and create a new state. So you have an empty state as default on this one. Go into parameters. And now create 2 integer parameter. Gesture right. Gesture left. And create a boolean that's called AFK. So let's look if we've done everything right. The spelling is correct. Perfect. Now we can start animating things. So we go back to the scene. And create an animation clip here. Scroll a little bit down and select the material point Dissolve AFK. I think the perfect time for the dissolve animation is 10 seconds. And this value here we set to 1. We see here that our start point is a little bit too low. But I won't edit it. But if this happens, increase the values. And show you fast where you need to increase the value. This value here, the start point. If we increase it, yeah. Let's test this animation. Looking quite fine. Perfect. So we set it up our first animation. So we create a new animation. We call it Undissolve. And we add in property again, body, skin measurement layer, scroll down to Dissolve, and select Dissolve Alpha. Now we animate from... I don't know why this happens. It's looking a bit weird. So now we're animating from 1 to 0. Oh, not to 9, to 0. The undissolve animation we put on the length to 5, I think. 5 seconds is better. So let's start this animation. Looks also quite fine. If some materials didn't get applied the dissolve animation, be sure that you linked all your materials here. Looking quite fine. So that was everything we need to do for our animations. Now we must edit our animation controller. So now we can set up our FX layer first. I will click it. The parameters we already set it. Now we create a new layer. We call it FX layer. Doesn't mind how you call it. Be sure to put the white on 1. Create a new empty state. Drag this down here. Be sure that you unselected loop time for your dissolve and undissolve animation. Drag them both into here. And make some transitions here between these ones. So in the first arrow we need to untick extra time. Okay, that has no extra time, so we need to untick this one. Very important to untick this one. And on this part here, we untick extra time, and we set the transition to 2, and the offset to around about 9.5. That should be right. We don't need an interruption source, and here we don't need to put anything in here. I nearly forgot to set an condition. Here we need the AFK true condition, and here we need to make an AFK false condition. We're using any state and not neo state, because if we have many states here, we don't want to give any state an exit condition that is called AFK true. So this is doing any state for us. That was everything you need to do with the FX layer. So what we now need to do, if you don't want to go into the meditation pose, I will show you that. We need to go again here. So basically we can set our FX layer here. So your controller, I named it FX layer. So set the controller into here. And we need to select the action layer here. So we select it. And we duplicate it. So we rename it tutor action. And I will drag it also into my tutorial folder. So if you overwrite the SDK for any reason, you don't lose your controllers. There it is. Boop, 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 and select it here. Tutor action. Double click it. And here you have the 3 AFK states with the animation. You see proxy AFK, proxy AFK, proxy AFK. So if you want to have an own transition animation, a transform animation, so everything that only transforms your bones and your armature, you can just recreate an animation and put it into here. But if you don't want to have a transform animation, just delete it.